Well, hello, friends. This is the Bulbmeister representing Bulbmeister.com, coming to you today to share with you um, my overall process for transplanting Lycoris bulbs from a small plot to a larger plot. In this case, you're going to see something that was approximately 4 feet by 4 feet that has become too crowded. And so I'm going to dig up all the bulbs and I'm going to transfer them, and they'll take up, 30 to 40 feet of a new 4 foot plot, 4 foot by 40 then. So this is something that only has to be done every several years, 5 to 7 I would recommend, no more than 10. And so what you're going to see is me preparing beds or a bed and then digging and then planting and then seeing the mulched product. This represents several weeks of work. Um, the time that I have spent on this particular video and my inexperienced editing skills may make it longer than it should be. I'm not sure, but it represents what takes me about 12 hours on average to complete digging whatever amount of flower bulbs to fill 100 by 4 feet, a whole plot. So in the space of this amount of time, you will see, in this amount of time in this video, you will see what I do. And there's places, this is unscripted, so I'll be working, I'll be digging, or I'll be planting, and something will come to mind and it'll come out as guidance for what I do, or maybe even uh, advice for what you can do. Additionally, you will see me using things and maybe using a particular product or talking about it. But I will share with you, if I can find links for them, the products I like to use for the things that I'm doing. And I hope you don't mind that. If I can figure out how to chapterize the video, I can try to do that too, so that you can skip ahead to other parts if you prefer to just see some particular area of agricultural, horticultural practices. So thank you very much for joining me, and I do hope it's of help to you. Please do share with your friends. Please do like. Please do subscribe. Please make suggestions about things you like to see relating to gardening or landscaping. So thank you again for visiting and joining with me, and I hope you'll enjoy this video. I'm out in the nursery preparing to transplant Lycoris flower bulbs that have been in the ground for several years, and I'll be moving them to this 100 foot by 4 foot bed. Hard to call a row. So what I did is I came in earlier and brought in mushroom compost from a supplier. I'd drive about an hour and a half turnaround anyway, picking it up and bringing it back. And I went and put this in the rows several days ago. I figured it's better, if they're going to leach from rain, to leach into the ground they're supposed to be in instead of in a pile somewhere. So I'm going to prep this just a little bit, spread it out a little and even it out, and then I will till it. After that, at some point, I will start planting the plots, and we'll get into more close-ups on that. So I've just completed a double pass. I went down the row, back this way, and then I went against where I went and back this way. So I've hit it per path twice. But at the shallowest I can go with this Mary tiller. So I had to try to break up that harder ground, kind of break up some of the weed roots that are in it. And now I'm going to adjust the height to go a little deeper and get this these plots into a situation where I can literally use a hand trowel or my own hand to place the bulbs. The bulbs only take up 30 inches of space in the 48-inch bed, meaning there's 9 inches on each side of that. So you've got room for mulch to cover roots, you've got room for foliage to grow and even flop over, and you're just kind of keeping it separate from the mowed area, which I keep there to deal with erosion when heavy rains come. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So these are 4-foot beds wide. We got about 50 feet here of a 100-foot bed. I use baling twine to set my boundaries so I can see where I'm going. So I'll get in here and rake this a little bit. It's tilled deeply enough that I can scoop holes into the ground for quicker transplanting of a lot of bulbs by hand. But anyway, I use these old billboard tarps for covering, for weed control, and for, in this case, protecting from rain, so that I've got dry enough soil to till. Soil's in pretty good shape. It's a little moist, but it's pretty good. So what you're looking at here is a Mary Rear-Tine tiller. It's made in America. It's got a Briggs & Stratton 10 horsepower engine, and the reason I mainly got it was because it's got a 10-inch tilling depth, and most of the units you'll find in the big box stores around will be no more than 7 or 8, and I was looking for that extra depth because I plant flower bulbs. The tilling width is 22 inches. It's got 3 forward speeds. Of course, the fastest speed is for traveling. The first 2 are for tilling. Tines are forward rotating. You can also take advantage of a coupon using Bulbmeister. This is the north side of the boundary, and it's a little higher elevation than 4 feet lower, or 4 feet further away. So I'll be pulling more from the south side, which is built up because of the tillage. As a horticulturalist, I'm never supposed to say dirt unless it's under my fingernails. Everything else is soil. Beautiful, earthy soil. So I'm going to go ahead and dig here, find what bulbs I can find, and then transplant them over to the newly prepared ground. Now these have become very crowded. One bulb has become
7 or 8 or 9 or 10 bulbs, and they're crowding each other. So when they're moved to the new location, they will have a lot more room to grow, more nutrition to pull from the soil than they have at the moment. In that case, it's 3 bulbs. Well, but there might be more in the ground right there. 3 there. 4. So you can see here, generally speaking, this is Lycoris springeri, so its form is a little different. Well, it's a typical form, but not as big as Lycoris squamidra or longituba. But I dig them. Some root comes with them, and this gives them a good chance to more quickly reestablish. So that's what I do there, even though it makes it harder to plant them with roots. This is how I also send them to customers, except I put them in, wash them and put them in moistened sphagnum moss, slightly moistened, just to keep the roots fresh. Each bulb will get its own 6-inch space in the new plot. And I believe I brought this up before, but if you hate if your shovels are always breaking on you, your soil's more compact, more clay-like, these all metal spades from Leonard, they just do great. They don't get bent, and I'm just really pleased with them. They are, of course, heavier than your typical spade of the same size with a plastic or wooden handle, nylon or wooden handle. So keep that in mind, but hopefully I'll never have to replace this shovel, and hopefully it will never bend, because I don't think it will. So I highly recommend them. No, not sponsored. Looks like I sliced a bulb on the edge of the plot. Useless for marketing, but I'll put it at the end of my plot because I've got a basil plate with roots, and as long as it doesn't rot, it'll make new bulblets and give me new bulbs anyway. Here, let's just get a little closer. Got dirt on it now. I sliced right through it with the shovel. Hopefully that's focusing. But we still got some basil plate on this bulb and root system. So I can put that in the ground, I can lay it down, lay it up, lay it sideways, do this. And as long as it doesn't rot, there's a chance it can make bulblets and just make new plants for me. So I'll go ahead and keep it, put it at the back of the plot. Okay, there's a lot more in this leftover plot than I thought. What I will probably do is put them in water tonight and start tomorrow transplanting them. It's going to be a fairly decent sized little plot. Another busted one. Yeah. So they'll just go at the back of the plot. It must not have been right on the edge of this plot right here. See, that's a problem. Oh, it was on the edge. It's a problem if you leave them too long, they'll spread out beyond. Of course, I may not have followed that. When I planted these, I was probably putting the bulbs real close to the border edge, and I don't do that anymore. It's too difficult to do that for weed control. And here you can see in the case, just making sure I don't cut bulbs. This is a temporary marker, but I put the name. This is actually one of my varieties that I've released, Able. So I'll put that in 2 buckets and I'll put water in it overnight. Okay, this one, that one's good. This one too has root on it, so I can plant it at the back of the plot. All right, so I've just completed finishing out this plot so that I can start the new plot in the other part of the nursery. As it's getting close to evening here, I don't want to break this up into different planting moments. So I will go ahead and take these, distribute them in 2 buckets, pour water onto them, let them soak overnight, and then I will plant hopefully tomorrow. As far as you're concerned, you'll see it in the next frame or so, but you might see me in different clothes and weather may be different. So yesterday I dug the rest of the bulbs for that plot, and I needed to put them in water overnight, which in our case ended up cleaning them off a little bit. But I've let them come out into the open air so they won't be soaking wet, and I've gotten rid of all the mud, or at least the majority of it. So now I'll go ahead and count these just so I can have a better idea of the plot that I will have. I can figure that out at the end, but I like to know in advance. Well, especially if I'm getting towards the end of a row, end of a plot. But I'm going to go ahead and count these as we go. So as I showed you yesterday, here's one that I've damaged. I obviously would not send this to somebody. It's very possible it will die. But you can see here it's got root because it's got a basal plate still, and so I can put that at the back of the plot, the end of the plot, and if it will heal here or just not rot here, it will make new bulblets and potentially even still send up a plant from its own neck. And 74. So we got 149. I get in my rows, I do offset 6 inches apart. So the first row, if it was 5, I'm sorry, it was 6. The second row will be 5, which every 2 rows means there's 11. Every 2 rows, 11 inches, 11 bulbs. Every 20 rows, 110 bulbs. Let's just do this. 11 will go into what did I say? 149. 11 will go into 14 once. 3, 39. 11 will 3 times 13. With 6 left. 5. So 13 and a half times. So that would be 27 rows. So I'm looking at 27 rows ish, which if I was
getting towards the end of the plot, that would help me know if I can fill the plot or if I'll get close, because 27 rows would be about 13 and a half feet. You know, my marker takes up a whole row, as it were. So if one plot finishes, my marker takes up another 6 inches, and then the new plot starts taking up the next row. So there's only a foot between each plot, but more than enough for several years, staying isolated from one another. So now we'll get to getting set up to plant the bulbs. All right, before I get started, just want to share with you some of the things I use. I have a 4-foot plot width, and so this is a 4-foot piece of PVC. I have marked it, that's 9 inches into the first mark, and then each black mark after is 6 inches, and then it ends 9 inches to the border. And then in between are the 6-inch gaps in red of the other row when I use it. I'm using this measure. It's a 100-foot measure. I've got a 300. This is a 100-foot row. So when I stretch it, I'll start it at the very beginning. And when I stretch it out, the one side is in inches, which is what I like to use. And every foot is in red. And of course, all of the other number increments are black. So every 6 inches or half foot is black. So I've just determined from now on, I will, whatever starts my row, if I'm in the 1 foot mark, I will start with red, which has 5 bulbs in a row. And then at 1.5 feet will be 6 bulbs in the row. If I start on the 6-inch mark, I will have the 6 in the row as the first row, and then the next row will be on the foot mark, which is red, and I'll have 5 in that row. This just helps me not lose track of what row I am doing, what number in the row is there. You can get distracted, go check something out, have to take a restroom break, and you forget what you did last. So that's what I do. I will also move this marker along as I go, so I can try to be as straight in my rows as possible. I won't do it every 6 inches, but every 2 feet or so, I will grab it, put it where I just finished a row, and keep going. Generally, I'll use a regular old trowel to get my hole, or something like this. And in this case, with this measure, I can use a 1-foot nail to hold it in place. So I will first stretch out my tape, and then I will go ahead and begin the process of planting. One thing I'm doing here is, the main reason I am sharing is running this business is I give someone a kind of an in-person experience of what my bulbs are like and how I produce them and what I do with them. Hopefully there are some general wisdoms that help my customers, but also just help anybody else, because you could apply some of these principles to any number of flower bulbs. You don't have to be planting Lycoris. So hopefully it's of help to you. Please let me know what you think about some of these things. You can always ask questions to help me better understand what other gardeners are interested in doing with their flower bulbs, and what to do with them. Again, I've already fertilized with a compost. It's a low risk of over fertilization, and then I will mulch over this after I am done. So I'll go ahead and get started. So this is 0 point here, and I'm just eyeing being square.
So at the 6-inch mark, I will put in, at least this is a temporary marker, but I'll put in my marker and I'll put it, I can know right where the center is, that center red one. I'll put on some gloves, keep from drying out my hands and getting soil under my fingers, which then becomes dirt. And so in this case, I am starting on the 1 foot mark. These are old buckets. Starting on the 1 foot mark, which is red. Now I can't reach all over across the 4 foot plot. So I start in the middle and come this way. Then I'll go to the other side and do that way after, I don't know, about 10 feet or so. In the case of Lycoris, you're burying the nose below. You can see I'm not even using the trowel right now. Looking at my 1 foot mark, looking at my red mark. As long as I'm close. So now I'm going to black on the 1.5 mark. So I'm moving the marker about every foot, but that's mainly for your benefit because otherwise you would hear me talking to myself in ways to remember where I'm at and what I'm doing. So I'm trying to avoid that because with you watching me, I'm no longer alone in the field. So I'll be moving it about every foot. Now I plant mine 6 inches apart for production purposes. You can plant closer, of course. I would recommend no closer than 3 inches, and that would be so you could like make a grouping that within a year or two has got a nice mound of flowers, as it were. Or you could spread them out. You can have just a single bulb. I've done that too, and it will be a lone, you know, a lone beauty in the landscape until it starts to divide and split, and you won't get mounds of flower bloom for several years. So it just depends on what you want to do. Some people want to make a row, like a line in their landscape, so they'll plant just one and then, you know, foot away or 2 foot away or 3 foot away, plant another and go in a straight line. You know, that's fine. My 6-inch designation is based upon knowing I will not replant these for at least another 5 years, probably at least another 7. And I want them to have enough room to spread out, divide, and make new bulbs without crowding one another. Most of these you see close to blooming size or around blooming size. And of course, after they'll come up, they'll start sending up foliage, and and so they'll produce foliage and develop for a few months, so that they will be nice sized. Should be very nice sized when it's the ideal time to replant them. And of course, you go down a year down the road, they even be better, might already be splitting. Now, because I am not building measurements upon the previous position, if I get a little off on any particular position, there's the opportunity to correct it the next time over, because I'm basing all of my measurements on the tape and the measuring stick. We are supposed to get a fairly decent rain, I think Thursday, and today is Tuesday the 7th. No, the 6th. Tuesday the 6th. I'd love to be able to get this whole plot planted before the rain comes. We've had a very dry winter, very mild winter. Normally I wouldn't, most of the time I wouldn't be able to come out here in January and do this. So I'm hoping I can get this plot finished out before Thursday. So I'm going to speeding up. Okay, so now I'm about to finish up the 10-foot mark. I'll go ahead and switch over to the other side. Once I've got this planted. Technically, for me, with my measurements, the other side should go faster, because on this side, every row I'm doing 3. But on the other, I'm doing 3 and 2. So every 2 rows, 6 or on this side and 5 on the other. All right, so that's the 10-foot mark is planted. Oh. I always just follow a particular order of delivery so that if I lose track of what I'm doing, I know where I've probably been. In other words, I always go deepest into the bed before and then pull it this way. The most central, and then coming towards the edge. Always making that direction. My land is higher on this side of the bed than on that side, and even though it's only 4 feet, it's probably a good 2 inches. So it's actually harder to lean in towards the very center of the bed from this side, at least for this old back, than the other side. So that's why I do the majority on that side. I go to the center when I'm on that side, and I get almost to the center with the blacks on this side, but I don't have to go quite as far. I save myself 3 inches of stretch into the bed. So again, while I'm doing two rows of 6 bulbs over here, I'm doing 2 rows of 5 over here, and that's why. I mean, it has to be an odd one, but the reason I picked the more on that side is because of the slight slope that I'm sure you cannot see in the video. Here we got a very small, very young pup, daughter bulb, coming off the main bulb. I could remove it and try to grow it on its own, but I'd rather let it just nurse off of the parent bulb and it become 2 bulbs quicker. So I keep that there. Again, I'm putting any damaged or super small bulbs towards the end of the plot. So we went from mark 1 foot as the
first row down to up to the 14-foot mark. So 13, 26, 27 rows, and it ended up being around 155 bulbs. Of course, a couple of those planting holes because a couple of those damaged bulbs I put two together. So that's a good way to keep track of what you got if you happen to plant this way. It never hurts to, when you make your planting marker, this one's just a temporary, you can always put the bulb count when you plant, even if, whatever marker you're putting anywhere in your landscape, in your lawn, someplace so you can remember what you planted. If you add the number, you can sort of know what you initially started with. On to the next step. I'm just going to do a quick walk down this plot that I've completed. I forgot to show you putting the mulch in place. I might get to do this in another plot. Since I did not get that done, I want to go ahead and just get a quick look at that plot after it's been completed. My intention today was to share with you mulching this plot, and I forgot to hit the start button. So here it is, completed. I'm hoping to get one more plot in before it gets too terribly cold for February. In February, we got several cold days ahead. Still might be able to do a little work next week in the field, and if I can get one more plot in before growth begins, and growth is starting in some cases. It's way too early, but we've had a very, very mild November, December, and halfway through January. So I imagine those that are starting early will come out of it okay. They got a lot of growing to do, so even if the foliage gets burned a little by the cold, yeah, I know, burned, cold, damaged, then it'll still keep growing when it's time. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I'm just putting this footage in case this is all I have, if I forget to keep hitting the play button. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also don't forget that special coupon if you're looking for a great tiller. You can find that in the description below. And if you will, please share this with your friends. I sure appreciate that you watched this entire video, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.